I'm Keegan Dales, and I am here with two individuals who weld together, live together, and are traveling the road married across the country.
And I'm Darren Smith.
And I'm Sheraden and Darren.
We both weld, and we've been married for about 7 months now, and we've been working for about a year and a half.
All right, so your guys' story is pretty unique in the sense that you both weld. So you're both married, and you both weld, and you're young too. How old are you?
21.
21 and?
19.
So you're both young, fresh welders in the industry. You live together, you travel together. I want to know a little bit more about how that works. But before we get to the aspect of you both traveling and welding, what's your story and how you got into welding, Darren and Sheraden? So whichever, whoever goes first.
Well, I'm Sheraden and Darren. I've been welding for about 3 years now. I started in high school, but I waited all the way up until my senior year just because I didn't really have any interest in it. And then I had all of these college classes that I was taking, and it wasn't working out. I didn't like it, so I wanted to do something new. So I just started welding. I had 1 hour of welding class and then fell in love with it. So I did like the whole 7 hours of welding. And then after that, I graduated, went to Kentucky Welding Institute, loved it. Just because of the people, the instructors, it was so close to home, it felt like home, and then graduated from there and just started working.
Now, were you both in high school together in welding classes?
Yeah.
I think we had one.
Yeah, my sophomore year, we had one. She was a senior my sophomore year, and then we both welded. We had one welding class together, our senior year.
Yeah.
So was your story getting into welding in high school similar to Sheridan's, or was it a little bit different? How did you go about getting into welding in high school? Was it accidental? Did the guidance counselor just throw you in it, or did you want to get into it? So what's your side of the story on how you got into it in high school?
Well, my dad was a welder, so growing up I knew what it was, and then I really idolized my older brother, and he got into welding at our high school. So whenever I was coming up in middle school, I thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then my sophomore year, that's what when I was finally eligible to take it, I was like, that's what I want to do. So then I just picked it up and got in there and was pretty good at it when I first started welding, and then I just picked it up and ran with it,
Mm-hmm. So when you went to KWI, you all weren't at KWI together, correct? So you all went at different times.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sheraden, didn't you go on a church mission trip somewhere?
Yeah, but I went, so I'm 2 years older than him. I went to KWI right after I graduated,
Mm-hmm.
and he did the same thing.
Gotcha.
So when he was in welding school, I was on my mission.
Gotcha. Okay. And so how was your KWI experience, Darren? Did you feel like it helped you to get into the welding industry faster, or was it just an add-on to high school?
No, it's definitely different. They got a bunch of different simulators and get you in a tight spot, but it's definitely what you make it. It's just like anything else. If you put in the work, you're going to get a big reward. But if you go in there and be lazy, then you're not going to get no reward. You know what I mean? And some people that might look bad at the school, I don't care if you got a D1 college, there's still going to be bad kids that go to a D1 college. You know what I mean? So just overall, the school's what you make it. It can be something that's really great, or you can go in there and waste your time. I mean, you got a lot of resources. You can burn a lot of rods. You got a lot of material. A lot of argon,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just stuff you can't get in your garage with your uncle teaching you. It's just just pedal to the metal. You know what I mean? That's why it was really good. You get a lot of welding in.
Right, a lot of access to resources.
Right.
So Sheraden, so when you graduated KWI, when you went straight into the industry, did you hit jobs by yourself, or did you go with somebody you knew? What was that like on your end?
That's a good question. I had a lot of friends in welding just because my older brothers weld. So they have friends that helped me,
Mm-hmm.
and they acted like my older brothers. So I would just go with them, and they took really good care of me. And I think that's really important as a female welder in the industry, to definitely know somebody on the job. And if you don't, then get to know somebody and just have them help you. But yeah, I just never went to a job alone, and that really, really helped me.
you're a good welder, and so what was that like being a female welder in the industry, being a little bit better than most of the other guys out there? I mean, did you aggravate a lot of people with that, or?
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to it.
Right.
I just worked hard
Mm-hmm.
and tried to do my very best. Sometimes I was better. Sometimes I still need to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I found it really fun to compete with them and also compete with myself, because every single day I was trying to get better. You know,
Right.
the last weld that I made like 10 minutes ago, I wanted it to look better
Mm-hmm.
the next time. So
Okay, so your first couple jobs were with friends and brothers, and then Darren, did the first couple jobs for you look like? Because you all obviously didn't hit the road together right out the gate.
Fresh out of KWI, my buddy, even one of my good buddies now, but he was somebody at the school. He got me my first job.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tube job up in northern Kentucky, and I didn't know nobody there. You know what I mean? I was just as green as you get, and I just rode in, and I mean, I just worked my whole life, so I was quick to jump in and pick up and learn things. And it wasn't like a big tube job. It was more of a T&M outage. We was doing a lot of valve change outs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Got to weld some tubes, but it was a great first job, good learning experience. And I got in there and met a bunch of good guys, and they taught me a lot. And then after that, I just kept rolling, went on the next one, learned some more, and went on.
So I'm curious to see what your guys' opinion on this is. What do you think the best welding job right out of welding school is? Is it a pipe job? Is it a boiler job? Is it a shipyard? Is it a refinery? What job do you think is the best coming out of welding school? And I want to hear it from both of you because I'm curious.
From me, I think if you're gonna know if this is for you, a boiler would make or break you. You know, especially one that, for example, TDI, man, they'll work like some dogs, 712s, and they got. If it's a hard dog job, they got a time frame they got to meet, and they're going to be, man, you ain't taking your first break, and we got to go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, and sometimes you got to do that to help the company out and get it done. And if you're one of the guys that skip your breaks and help the company, then you get good and get called back. You know.
Right.
But definitely, you know, I've been in some boilers and they push you hard and make you weld fast, and you know, so I think a boiler for sure.
I was gonna say the same thing, but a job that'll humble you,
Mm-hmm.
because I've noticed a lot of the times people that come out of KWI, like fresh out of KWI, they're kind of prideful,
Mm-hmm.
and a job that'll make you work and learn that you have a lot of work to do
Yeah,
will make you better in the long run,
I agree.
and it'll humble you.
Right, and I agree with what you both saying. You know, probably the best job out of welding school is going to be a hardcore boiler job.
Yeah.
I agree with what you guys saying on that. And also, right out of welding school, I mean, you do think you're the best welder there is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like anything in life, you know. You graduate middle school and you're on the bottom. And then you
Right.
work your 4 years through high school, and then your senior year, you're like, I'm the king, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you get in the real world and you're back on the bottom, and then your first day in welding school, you're at the bottom, and then 6 months later, you're about to graduate KWI, and you're like, I can weld everything. I'm the best there is. And
Yeah.
then you get out in the real world and realize
You're nothing.
You're nothing. You don't
See,
know
that's the thing.
anything.
That's the thing about a boiler too, man. You can get out there, and if you ain't that good at welding yet, as you thought, you know, you get out there and you're not that good. Man, there's a bunch of different jobs in a boiler. You know what I mean? Because they're cutting panels, they're prepping, they're bowl rigging panels
Right.
out. You know what I mean? And there's just a bunch of different things that you could be doing while. You know, usually the company's got their welders that are going to make the hard welds, and you
Yeah.
can be the guy that's doing everything else and learning.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you just learn to be a really, I don't know, adversity or whatever. You become a,
Very versatile.
yes, you just do a lot of different jobs, and you become more valuable. You know, if you can cut out panel tubes or lay tubes out and
Mm-hmm.
prep them and weld them fast, then you'll be more valuable than somebody that just wants to weld if you can be all around. You know what I mean?
Right. Just being that well-rounded welder.
Yeah, try to learn everything fresh out of school is what I did. You know, still don't know everything, but I don't care if they're going to run into some dirty work, and some jobs you might not even weld a whole lot, but you get in there and do the job and learn what you're doing, and you know, one day you're going to be very valuable and maybe push work or something for somebody or.
Right. Because, you know, I guess one of the big things is, you know, use welding to get somewhere else.
Yeah,
you know?
to get off your tools or
right.
run
Now,
your
if-
business or.
Right. If you like welding, that's totally fine. But, you know, at KWI, one of the things that we've pushed is just, learn to weld and use that to take you to higher places, run jobs, be a project manager, start your own company. And, there's a lot of people that still like welding, but we always like to let people know you can do a lot more than just that. And that's why we have so many different options at KWI, with the training and the certifications. So you guys are welding, out in the industry for about a year now. So when did you two meet and get married and start traveling together? What did that look like? Because obviously you two didn't go on your first couple of jobs together, so you've been out for a little bit and then you meet, correct?
Yeah.
But you already had a past experience with each other in high school.
Yeah.
Well, my freshman year, she was a junior, and we just had gym class together, and that's how we become friends. And then my sophomore year, her senior year, we both welded together, and I was like, and then she didn't end up.
Sheraden didn't like you.
No.
Why didn't you like Darren?
I don't know.
Darren don't know.
I didn't like him. He's always sweet, but I just.
Darren was just too rough around the edges, I guess.
Yeah,
Too feral.
I was kind of wilder in high school, man, but I wouldn't change nothing that I did in high school because
Made you who you are today.
makes me who I am today. I got an addictive personality. You know what I mean? And I used to smoke. You know what I mean? Back in the day, and then I was coming up in high school, and I was like, I'm gonna have to take a drug test and a hair follicle to get into welding school. And then I was like, it was nerve wracking. So then I just one day I got real sick, dude, and I was like, couldn't even go outside to smoke. So then I ended up quitting for 5 days. And I was like, I'm just gonna quit now. My junior year. And I ended up getting, like, God just let me up and quit everything, you know what I mean? And then went with it from there. I haven't touched it since, but doing all that stuff in high school let me steer away from it on the road because it's a lot easier to get. You're a lot around it a lot more when you're on the road or away from home, but that stuff's out there and you can get a hold of it, or it can get a hold of you.
Right, correct.
So stay away from it, and I had to learn the hard way. Everybody's telling me, but some people do gotta learn the hard way, and you can't tell them nothing. But I don't know, it'll eat your money and change you as a person, and cost you jobs, and it'll hurt you.
All right.
So when I graduated welding school, I worked for about 3 to 4 months, 3 different jobs, and then I decided to go on a mission trip for my church for 18 months. And the whole time, Darren was emailing me, but as a friend. And like every single week, he was emailing me when he's on jobs, and he was keeping me updated with how it was going because I was missing welding because that's what I did. So he was like, let me know how his work was doing, and I was really interested in that aspect. Not him though, yet until I came home and I realized that he's a really good person and like how much I really did like him. So after that, it just worked, And then we decided to get married. Since we do the same thing, we weld, we wanted to be together all the time, so we just started to work together.
Gotcha. So how many jobs have you hit together?
I think like 3.
3 or 4.
And all of them are boiler jobs?
No, one of them was a pipe job in Columbus, and the other one was for boilers.
Okay, so are you both welders on the job, or do you weld and fit together, or how does that play out?
Yeah, we're weld partners and we was weld partners in the boiler, and then when we was on the pipe job, it was more so that, it was kind of, more so like, shit, we was both welders, but sometimes I was coming over to help her, sometimes she was coming over to help me when there wasn't fitters, so we was both welders, but we both did a lot of different things on that job.
Okay. So when you're on these jobs, do you stay in a camper or Airbnb it up?
Both.
Okay.
It just depends like how far away the job is or how convenient it is to bring a camper. Because sometimes Airbnbs are cheaper than campsite.
Right.
It just depends, really.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like we called up, we was working in Columbus, Ohio, and we called up there, and for a camp spot, like we was working in smack dab middle of Columbus, and they was wanting like $1,400 a month for just lot rent plus electric.
A camper campsite?
And that was the cheapest.
$1,400 a month?
$1,400 a month, man. That's the cheapest you could find, really. There was some that was like $1,000 a month, but they was kind of sketchy. So.
Well, there was a lot of work going on up there too.
Yeah,
so they cranked it up.
knew, and we just was like, we had some buddies going to a job, so we all rented an Airbnb, and we ended up staying for like $15 a night after we all split it.
Wow.
We ended up staying for $15 a night, and it worked out better than toting my camper up there. And
Agreed.
it's cold. It was cold, and you know, if you stay in a camper in the wintertime, you're gonna fight it.
As you all are right now.
Yeah, right now, I mean, I live in my camper, you know, me and my wife do, and it's just one thing after another. You know, if you buy a camper, they all suck. I don't care if you buy one that's brand new, a 2024, or you buy one that's a 2000 model. You're going to work on it every single time you move it, or, you know, about once a month, something's going to go wrong, man. Like,
Right.
My landing gear on my jacks went bad. To fix that, they're brand new, they're $800, but me and her dad took it off and welded it back. My furnace went out just last night, and it's, you know, below 10 degrees. So I'm heating everything with electric, electric heaters. But when my furnace went out, my lines froze and busted. You know, you always got to have good tires when you're making long trips. You're gonna have blowouts. You gotta have spare tire. I just had a lot of stuff. You know, I blew a hole in the floor.
Right.
You know, I got a hole in the camper now because I sat down on the couch and the leg bowed in. The floor was dry rotted. You know, my toilet, dude, I pushed my foot down to flush a load, and then it freaking broke, and that's $350.
So it's just one thing after another with camper.
Yeah, it's just, you know, sometimes you might go, if you're with your camper, stay in your camper, you might be able to stay for the flat rate of just, if you got paid off for the $500 a month lot rent, and you ain't out nothing but $500. But then sometimes you're gonna be staying for that month, and you're gonna be out $2,500 in parts trying to fix your camper, or you're working 7/12s, and then you get off, and then you're working on your camper for 3 hours. But it's a 50-50. It's a win-win, loss-loss. You know what I mean?
So moving forward with that, do you think you'll both do Airbnbs or pull a camper? This coming year, are you both going to hit jobs together, or what's your goals moving forward this year with welding?
Yeah, it just really depends on how long she wants to stay in this field, you know, because it's rough on a woman, honestly, and we want to start a family one day, and just however long she wants to stay welding, because whenever we decide to have kids, I'm selling my fifth wheel.
Right.
I mean, it's too big, it sucks hauling it. And if I don't mind a camper life, I'll probably get something smaller if I do.
Right.
You know, just like lighter, easier to pull. I'll just get something smaller and stay in it. You don't need nothing fancy, nothing.
Right.
You don't need these $100,000 campers, man. Fresh out
Something
of school.
tiny.
You can go buy you a $10,000 camper and roll it. You know what I mean?
Right. So you both have went through welding school and you've been out for a couple of years. What's the best advice you could give somebody who's getting ready to graduate welding school? What do you think is a good blueprint for them to follow?
I think you don't need the best truck, the nicest camper, you know. Get from A to B, one job site to the next, make the money, save the money, invest it, be smart. Yeah, what do you think?
I'd say be humble, man, because I don't care if you come out and I don't care if you pass your first 10 weld tests. You know, one day you're gonna bust a weld test, or you know, one day you're gonna have a hard weld, or it be the end of the shift, and everybody's telling you, "Come on, you set it up," and then you got a bad shot, and if you act all cocky and act like you're the best
all the time,
and somebody's just you're gonna piss off a lot of people, and nobody's gonna like you, and you're gonna be getting called back. So, especially when you're young, man, just stay humble and get in there and do your job. Stay off your phone. Don't be hitting vapes. You know, you're gonna vape or chew, whatever you're gonna do. Just do that outside of work or on break or something. But don't be in there while your fitter's making a hard fit. Don't be puffing away and staying on your phone. You know, be the young guy that's got the tools in your hand, waiting to give it to him. You know what I mean? Even if you don't know what's going on, just think of it like, well, what can I do to help this guy? Even though if your job's just strictly welding, just try to help out everybody else. You ain't got nothing to do, you know, and that'll carry you a lot further than just being a good welder. And and then it can also pick up, man, if you're not. I haven't always been that good, you know what I mean? Some jobs I was like, when I was first coming out, I wasn't that great, you know, and what carried me was my work ethic, you know what I mean? If you can work, they'll keep you around for sure, you know what I mean? You ain't gonna be a slick old welder to be a welder, you know?
Right, and that's a big point that we try to make is the reason someone is not staying busy welding or in the industry is you're lazy. That's the only thing it can be, because the U.S. is short welders right now. I mean, I got a call yesterday about a job in Salt Lake, and I got a call about a job in Oklahoma that they're needing people for. They cannot fill these positions.
Yeah.
And what they mean is they can't fill the positions for good welders, good workers.
Yeah.
So if you can't find work in today's industry, you're just a lazy person, and like you said, you're not sitting there ready to help the person with what they're doing.
Or you was cocky or nobody
Right.
liked you, you know, it's just
Right.
one of those two for sure.
Right, because there's a shortage right now, and if you're not busy, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
There really is nothing wrong with the industry, or there's not a surplus of welders. I mean, there may seem like there is, but I'd say 20% of the 100% of welders out there are worth the crap.
Right.
So if you're one of those 20%, you can stay stupid busy all year round. So we're curious, what does a normal work week look like for you two? What is camper like? Laundry day, meal prepping, because you both are welding with each other for 12 hours a day, and then you go straight back to the camper with each other.
Yeah.
So you're around each other 24/7. Some people like it, some people don't. So how do you guys function in that environment where you're both together all the time?
For the food, like as far as cooking, we was in Georgia, and we ate out. We was down there for a few weeks, for a month maybe. We ate out one time, you know, with my buddy Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, Sherry really, she just cooks for enough for like 3 to 4 days, you know, or a good 3 days.
Mhm.
Just cook in bulk, so we ain't got to.
You didn't have to do a single thing.
Well, okay.
Come in and
I
do it.
could,
That's awesome. I wish I had that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I
you're
do
lucky.
the dishes. I do the
Yes,
dishes.
that's the deal.
Okay.
I cook, he does the dishes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we usually do. We don't eat out really because eating out gets expensive. But now groceries are expensive too.
Right.
I mean, cook in bulk for cheap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Cook a lot.
So you guys got like a Sam's Club membership or anything?
No, but that would be cool.
It would. That's what
Yeah.
I got. It just helps out so much. Yeah, get a Sam's Club membership. It's like $100 a year, I think. But okay, so you go back to the camper, you cook a meal, and then obviously there isn't laundry in your camper. Some campers do have like washing machines, and
Right.
so you all go out somewhere to do laundry.
Yeah,
Or okay.
we'll go to the laundromat, try and find the closest one. And we're just, the whole time we're doing this and just figuring out the 712s and being together 24/7, we're just trying to help each other out.
Gotcha.
Like, he'll carry in the laundry to the laundromat, and then I'll start putting in the laundry and then paying for it. And
Right.
just the whole time we're just trying to help each other make it easier, because it is hard.
Yeah.
712s, all the time, just being together, it is tricky, it is
Yeah.
challenging, so we're just...
Waking up,
Yeah.
getting together,
Yeah,
getting in the
and-
car, going to work,
But I
badging
honestly,
in.
I enjoy it really. I love working. Like I love it. I love 712s really because you get on I feel like
Routine.
better. I feel a lot better when I work 712s
Yeah.
versus being at the house.
Oh, yeah.
because You're on a routine. You wake up, you eat your breakfast at the same time.
Hammer down.
You eat your lunch every day at the same time, and then you just, you get your sleeps right. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't get as much sleep, but I honestly feel better when I work 712s.
Oh, I agree with that.
Being laid out of the house, lazy,
Right.
That's why I like staying busy. Like we work, she got hurt, so she was out for about a month and a half, but therefore, last fall I worked 712s for 4.5 months and only had 3 days off.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was working.
And you both working, both welders, both making welder pay on these 712 jobs, you all have a really good opportunity to make a lot of money, invest it or save it or prepare for the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So do y'all ever get aggravated with each other? Like have y'all ever had a bad day at work and then you have to go back home to the camper?
Yeah, we've had them,
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you guys, but me and one of my weld partners, Blake Hawkins, one day we got in a screaming match with each other welding tubes. So I was on one side of the boiler, he was on the other, and we couldn't physically do nothing, but we were screaming at each other through this little slit, you know what I mean? So he was screaming at me and I was screaming at him, and it was his fault obviously, but what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, a bad day at
get
work.
Cranky.
Yeah,
He is really, really good.
anything, man. You spend 7 days a week, all year round, with even your best friend.
Right.
You're gonna get mad at him.
Yeah.
Anybody. You can spend. I don't care. You can love them to death, or there's anybody. You can spend too much time with somebody, and if you don't fix it, or if you do it wrong, it'll drive you apart.
Yeah.
Right.
You just gotta be strong and have the same end goal. as your partner, you know.
Right.
She
I
gets
got-
mad at me sometimes when we're in the board.
Over what?
Well, okay, just small stuff, but I had a bad shot on one of the jobs, and it tore me up. I don't know why. It's just like I just get flustered.
It rattled you.
Yeah, and
Made her go slow.
Checking
it threw
everything
him off.
and like
Yeah.
looking at everything for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, what's that little line? What's that hole?
Yeah.
I
So
don't
I
know, piece of
was-
silica, look like a fish eye.
Especially if it's 90
It's 90,
wire.
it's chrome.
It's got that little black stuff on the root on the
Yeah.
inside and little flakes.
Yeah,
So you can't tell what's behind that flake.
Yeah, we just loaded a bunch of
Yeah.
crossover tubes, it was all 90 wire.
Right,
and-
right.
So I got a little upset, and then of course it threw him off.
It slowed you
So
down.
Yeah.
we was getting 15 tubes a night. and then
That's
we-
pretty good.
Then we dropped down to 12 or 10, you know what I mean? But, I
Yeah,
don't know.
but yeah, it's just something that you have to work at every day, just like
Right.
anything else.
And you'll grow out of it too. I
Yeah.
mean, a bad shot, you know.
It is, everybody has, if you don't have a bad shot, you ain't welded enough. I don't know,
Yeah,
that's what everybody
and that's
tells
for
me.
everybody here on watching the cameras. If anybody tells you they've never had a bad shot, A, they're not really
Don't
welding.
take advice from that guy,
Yeah.
or he ain't.
Or B, they've really never been anywhere to weld.
Yeah.
Like, or they've only welded MIG. That was, you know, they've
Or they're slow.
or they're
you know what I mean?
slow or something. It just it's
Don't take advice from that guy.
yeah. That they don't know what they're talking about because any good welder has had bad shots.
Yeah.
The best welders I've ever met, they get bad shots every job because they're testing the limits or they're trying to go faster or try to
Right,
better
yeah.
themselves, you know? So, and you know, and that's okay because failure's
That's
good
That's
in
what
welding.
makes you a better welder.
You need to-
is bending the
yeah.
rules, you know?
You need to fail. You need
Yeah.
to fail over and over again. And if you're staying in the comfort zone, you're not going to get better.
Right.
And that's another thing too. You don't want to get too comfortable welding because then you won't move up to those better paying
Yeah.
jobs. You got to always be testing yourself and testing the limits. So what could you say to your younger self in sophomore or freshman year that would help them?
If I could tell something to a young person trying to get into welding is stay humble, keep your head down, and just, you'll be surprised how far you make it by being the hardest worker in the room. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. You can be the least talented person in the whole room, but if you outwork everybody, you're gonna make it just as far, you know, or further.
Right.
You know, so just
Yeah.
work hard.
And to
you know?
add on to that, there are people on the job site that don't want me there,
Right.
like
Because
I'm a female.
right.
They're like, what are you doing here? Like, get out.
Really?
So yeah. So I have had to not prove myself, but like what he said, kind of prove myself. Work really, really hard.
Mhm.
Show them that I'm not just a female, like just trying to show people that I can be here, but that I want to work hard,
Right.
make my own way, and help them get the job done.
Honestly, women are looked down in the welding industry because it's a man's trade, really. I mean, honestly, but I mean, Sheraden weighs 110 pounds soaking wet, and a lot of people just look at her and is like, man, she can't weld. You know?
Right.
But she's really a slick old welder. And so
Yeah.
she gets to welding, she impresses a lot of people, but
Right.
people are quick to judge, you know. So, and that's why you don't get mad, you don't get cocky, and you don't argue. That's when you just talk with your welds. Is what
Right.
That's what
Yeah.
you got to do.
That's what I'd say too.
You just
Let
got.
your welds talk.
Right.
And then if your welds can't talk, let your work in.
All right, so all the time in our comment sections on all social media platforms, we got tons of haters and people always saying, you know, if you travel with your spouse or just traveling on the road in general, you're going to hate your life down the road as a welder and you're going to be stuck doing it. And obviously we know those people have made poor financial decisions because they bought lots of liabilities with their large amount of money they're making welding instead of assets. So you two are young welders in this industry, and what's your take on that, and how are you going to change that going forward instead of, you know, blowing your money on things that require you to stay welding? Because you all see that a lot in the industry.
I think for those people that are commenting that it's just bad decisions, and what we're doing is like the job that we're working is preparing us and allowing us to have the future that we want.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Welding's fast money, but it gets you in trouble fast too. You
Right.
know, you see that too much. You're a bad decision maker. It's going to end up. I mean, it you could end up broke, or if you're a really bad decision maker, you could end up in prison. It's just what you make out of it. You know what I mean? There's just so many, and you'll see it once you get out there in the field. You know what I mean? You'll see guys that have been. I mean, starting out, you're not going to get the best of jobs, so you're going to start out with some of the rougher. I did, anyways.
Right.
And, you know, I seen some. I mean, one of my jobs, my second job was in Pennsylvania, and I was working with a dude that he ended up shooting somebody when he was 12 years old. He did a life sentence from 12 to the time he was 12 or 13 to the time he was 35 or 33, 34 years old, and he got out and he was my fitter on that job. Dude, he didn't really know much, but he lived a rough life, you know what I mean, and just bad decision making, and I mean, it hurt him, you know what I'm saying? So if you it's what you make out of it, and it's up to your decision making, what you're going to get out of life, you know?
And I always tell people, you know, traveling around and sharing my story as well as KWI's story, is you can use welding to set your whole life up. If you just devote, you know, 5 to 10 years, anywhere in there, just to welding, bettering yourself, learning a craft, and using that money to buy assets that help you later on in life, you can set your whole life up. But if you don't do that, you can really put yourself in a hole that requires you to stay welding year-round on these 7/12 jobs. Because you guys have seen it, I've seen it. There's a lot of older people on these jobs that are 60, you know, right around the 50, 60 years age, that are on these turnarounds, chasing turnarounds. And who wants to be doing that at 50 or 60 years old? Nobody.
And then a lot of them guys, man, they drink a lot, you know what I'm saying? They're at the bars every single night. They probably got 3 or 4 ex-wives, 10 kids. So, I mean, you know, you do get, so if you're traveling by yourself, you do get lonely, but at the end of the day, you know, you ain't got to go out and chase bars and women, because then that leads you to divorces and child support.
And then you'll be chasing jobs the rest of your life.
You're chasing money to stay out of,
you're stuck.
You're chasing money to stay out of jail, you know, backed up child support. How many welders have you met that are fighting 7/12s to pay child support and to drive the $70,000 truck that they got, you know?
Right. And then their bills are like, you know, I know a lot of welders on jobs, their bills are like $6,000 to $7,000 a month.
Yeah.
So they have to stay welding on these jobs. And that's where I think most of the hate comes from, is these individuals are stuck in these positions. And so they'll get on social media trying to knock down the younger generation of welders, trying to get into it and make good decisions. And they just hear everybody saying that it's a horrible industry, you won't make no money, you'll have a horrible life. But that's false, because you can make good money doing this, just if you have a little bit of common sense and thought behind what you're doing with it.
Yeah, think a little harder on your decisions, you know what I mean? If as far as family life goes, I mean, my wife welds with me, so we're together. I mean, we could, home for us is just me and her, that's in my camper, I guess. We can go anywhere in the United States and be at home. Right. And then, you know, one day when we decide to have kids or whatever, hopefully we'll have enough money saved up that I won't have to have $3,000 a week, that maybe I'd be able to work a 40-hour week job, live comfortably, or I can tow them with me until the kids start school. You know, 5 years, extra 5 years, I can have my family on the road with me. You know, you see it all the time.
And the cool thing also too is, if you're not able to do that, you can just go hit a 4-week job somewhere and make $12,000 to $15,000 and come right back. It's just 4 weeks, and that's the awesome thing about the welding industry, is where can you go learn something for 6 months, and then for the rest of your life you can go hit little jobs here, there, all over the country, get paid really good to do so. You can make $100,000 in 7 months. You know what I mean? But the reason people hate on it is because of poor decisions from, you know, other welders or places they learn how to weld that kind of just blow them full of smoke, and they don't teach them the valuable information that they need to know. So I think that's a really good point to let people know, is that it's a great opportunity, but it's a poor one if you don't know what you're doing.
And it seems like, I've seen great welders, but are scared to leave home too. You know what I'm saying? You got to be willing to. A thing with welding is you got to be willing to leave home. You know what I mean? Right.
And there are good jobs close to the house.
Right.
But what I always tell people is, go out while you're young, get paid to see the world. You know what I mean? And you can set yourself up and see the country, and then once you go out and find out who you are and, you know, what you like, what you don't like, you can come back home and then figure out what you want to do. But while you're out there figuring out who you are, you're getting paid to see the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you guys can do together,
Yeah.
is go get paid to see the country together and figure out, what you like, what you don't like, see the country, and then kind of lay out a blueprint financially and mentally for your life later down the road.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sheraden and Darren, so you both are really young, you're making good money. What does the financial aspect look like for you guys? Have you guys started your separate investments accounts, or are you all combining those? What does that look like right now in 2024?
So we started our investments separately.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Roth IRA
Okay.
right now, and you have a.
I had a Roth IRA. My welding teacher in high school was really a really smart guy. He pushed us hard, financial decisions, good decisions, and he taught us a lot about money. And then after my first job, I come back home and I maxed out my Roth IRA right after my first job.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of people go buy new trucks after their first jobs. I didn't want to. You know what I mean? It's hard to see, go from thinking that $2,000 is a lot of money to have $20,000 or about $20,000 in your bank account after your first job.
Right.
Roughly, you know what I mean? We worked 7/12 for almost 3 months. So I mean, I made some money on my first job. So when I came home, I was like, I just put that money up and I acted like I never had it,
Right.
And you just don't ever even don't even think about it, because you can go pull that money out, but more than likely they won't keep doing business with you. But
Right.
I've maxed my Roth IRA out twice now, so it's just a good long-term investment. And it's the thing, I'm gonna stay non-union because you make top dollar money, the top pay at such a young age, and if you're smart with your money, then
Right.
you buy the assets and you get yourself a retirement going, and what's the benefit of being union?
Right.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
eventually we want our money to work for itself. So, got a lot of goals.
I ain't like dog in the union. I got some. I guess I know some people that are in the union and they love it and they can make a good life out of it. But them guys, just, they gotta work till they're 55 or 60 to get their retirement. I don't want to work that long
Right.
as far as this trade. I'd like to do it till I'm 30 or so, and then after that,
Get down with it.
do something at the house.
You got your whole 20s to
raise
just
raise
hammer
a
down,
family.
right.
That's the benefit of non-union to me
Right.
versus union. And I just like being 19 years old, making the same money as the 45-year-old man that's welding right beside me. That's been
Right.
doing it for 20 years. That's why I stayed.
long term. So what's your guys' family ideas in the long run? Are you going to start a family, or what's the timeline looking on that? Because do you want to travel, you want to have a family and travel, or when you have your family, you not want to be traveling?
I want to be set up enough that I ain't got to drag my wife and my kid all over the country.
Mhm.
Honestly, I think it'd be more suitable to raise a kid in a house and routine. You know what I mean? Like, they're young and traveling the world, they can see cool stuff, but they ain't gonna remember it. So
Right.
you know what I mean? Just have a house, stuff paid off, raise a kid. You know what I mean? And
Kids.
Then, yeah, kids. And just go from there. But in order to get there, you gotta be. If you want to have kids young and be debt free, young, then you gotta be smart financially, younger. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
can't be. I mean, I haven't bought a new. The only thing I've bought big was my camper, and I've used it ever since I've bought it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Other than that, I've just been towing along.
Right.
So you just gotta be smart with your money and figure out what you want.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a big flashy truck, if that makes you happy, then do it. But if you're going to lose money on it and
Right.
you're making yourself work harder and longer later.
Yeah. And another thing, like big flashy trucks and stuff like that doesn't make me happy. What makes me happy is my family, and I want a big family.
Mhm.
So now we're working hard as much as we can and earning as much as we can so we can have a family and live comfortably.
Right. So just setting yourself up. And I think that's a
Yeah.
powerful combo, is if both, husband and wife are on the same page going that direction, because a lot of people are in our comment section saying, your wife's going to leave you if you travel and weld and all this. And I think those people have made poor financial decisions as well as poor family decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you can, bring your wife along with you on the road, that works as well, but also just making sure that you're both on the same page.
Yes.
And then you're really
You
going
need
to have...
to do that. You need to be on the same page before you get married anyway. So
Right.
even if she can't come on the road, if she ain't going to wait for you while you're making $3 to $5 grand a week on the road, then she ain't the one. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Like,
You know,
and
you're trying to
obviously-
build a life. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like a lot of people can, especially young, you know, younger women mostly attract to immature guys. I feel like,
Right.
you know, the ones that are going to college and playing sports. You know?
Right.
Who cares what?
Right.
You ain't going pro, then you're gonna be working at the bank.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you just gotta really, you know, probably find yourself before you find your spot. Find yourself before you find your spouse.
Right.
Is what I would say. You know what I mean? Because before Sheraden, I never dated nobody in my life, dude. I never, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I never dated. I didn't allow myself to develop feelings just for women because I didn't like them. You know,
Right.
I just didn't like being around them. Their drama and they distract you. And I was focused and I had a plan and I had to get to welding school and I wanted to get my welding school paid for. So I got a bunch of scholarships, got my school paid for. Graduated a 6-month program in 3 months, and I got out there and was making 38 and 125 4 months after I graduated, or 5 because a little down. 5 months after I graduated high school, I was making around like $3,500 a week after taxes. You know what I mean? So find yourself before you find your spouse. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, don't get caught up.
So hopefully you guys like this video. We'll be putting out more videos on our YouTube channel, so subscribe to that. And also check out our website. We have links and we also have shop for clothing and a virtual tour. Until next time, see you there.